Well, the time is just gone 20 minutes past 8 as we kick off this morning, taking a look at developments that have been playing out in the Middle East. And one in particular that is of interest is the United States of America talking about easing decades long sanctions against Syria. Now, we've seen the U.S. Department of Treasury officially beginning the process of lifting sanctions on Syria. And the question is this a significant shift in U.S. foreign policy, particularly towards Syria? Because what the Treasury Department is saying that they are moving to provide sanctions relief to stabilize and to move Syria towards peace. Now, this raises a number of questions. Is this a humanitarian shift or is this a strategic recalculation? We're joined now by South African educator and humanitarian living in Syria. She was in South Africa not very long ago, Sister Maseeha Saloojee. Sister Maseeha, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome and Jazakallah khairan so much for your time.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Uncle Inayat, Jazakallah khair for the opportunity.
Yes, clearly these are interesting developments. Donald Trump now in the Middle East. He was in Saudi Arabia and he's moved to Qatar, and thereafter he's been in the United Arab Emirates. But I know you've written a piece talking about this game of cat and mouse that is being played, and let's just look at this from a Syrian perspective, and just how much do we read into what is playing out in the Middle East, and particularly the United States, and now its shift in policy towards Syria.
So I think obviously no one can speak for another person's intentions, but from the feeling on the ground, no one. I mean, I look back at like two weeks ago when the rumor was circulating after Corey Mills visited the president, saying that he was going to sign the peace accords, and everyone was talking about how he's betraying Syria, he's going to be signing the peace accords, and no one in Syria even for a second thought that that was reality. Like everyone was like, no, he couldn't have gotten the right thing. There must be some mistake. That couldn't have been what was said. Like no one here imagined that that could be reality. And when the official statement in Syria came out, it turned out that he had actually said the countries who have signed the peace accords do not have they do not have Israel invading their lands. Tell Israel to withdraw from Syria, and then we can talk again. So, like I think definitely in politics, it's a very, very dirty game. People are very careful about what they say, and especially as Muslims around the world, we know like our Muslim countries are being invaded in so many places, not just in Palestine. So Palestine has always been a priority for the Syrian people, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon, despite the fact that apparently people are seeing, what appears to be normalizing ties as is being spread in the media, but that's not the case. A lot of fake rumors had been going around as well that the whole revolution was Israeli-led. People slowly started seeing the reality that they are actually bombing Syria, and I think slowly, inshallah, the truth about this will come out too. Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Well, we are obviously hoping that the truth will come out, and we need to obviously get to the bottom. But also at the same time, in this little piece that you've written, Maseeha, you speak about nothing has changed in Palestine, and we know nothing has changed because while Donald Trump has been visiting Saudi Arabia and the other Gulf states, we've seen hundreds of Palestinians still being killed, and the genocide still continues. But what is interesting to see is coming out of this visit by Donald Trump, the change in U.S. foreign policy towards some of these states, and also with Syria in particular. You speak about this. You see you talk about the connections between these countries are like links in a chain, where each one needs the other to get where they need to go.
Yes. So I think, like you said, like with the U.S., especially Syria, has always been a point of interest for countries across the world, for that matter. Even if and this is going back like centuries, not even just like since the time of the United Nations. It's been a center for the world in terms of that link between the East, the West, not just Turkey. Turkey has been that as well, but Syria as well. It's rich in oil. It's rich in so many resources. And during the time of Bashar Assad, it was very, very easy pickings for anyone who was looking for something to score, because he didn't have the interest of the people at heart. So whether the fact that the US had lifted sanctions off Syria at the time wasn't necessarily a major problem for them. But things have changed since that. Even the fact that now, with the change in government we've had, something as simple as the drug trade between Syria and Lebanon, Syria and Jordan, decreasing by 80% over the last 6 months. So obviously things have changed in the world, maybe not on the grand scale of things, but it's starting to affect many different economies. And the US, I believe, have seen it's come to a point where they're not going to get what they want unless they have to also make some concessions. Donald Trump, I think everyone has their opinions on him. In my opinion, he's a very, very sly person. He knows what he's looking for, and he knows when to appear to be on the side of people and when to appear the opposite. He's a smart opponent as well. So with Ahmed al-Shara, I think he too should be careful, because it looks like it's going to be a standoff. Donald Trump, I think, has met him. He also knows how to play the game very well after many years of playing in politics, playing in the public eye.
Yes, but also I think, Sister Maseeha, I think what is important to actually understand is we know who Bashar al-Assad was, and when you were here in South Africa, there was just so much that you had actually brought in terms of what Bashar al-Assad had actually done to the people of Syria. But let's just talk about the new Syrian president, and now that he met with Donald Trump, and again, looking at where he wants to take Syria, but also at the same time in the article you make mention that he is not a pushover like Bashar al-Assad, and this is actually going to be quite interesting.
Sorry, Uncle Elijah, just cut off for a minute there. You spoke about the new president and how he's not a pushover like Donald Trump was, but I missed something in between.
Yes, no, I'm saying he's not a pushover like Bashar al-Assad, and has he got what it takes to actually stand up to the United States of America? Has it got what it takes now that the United States of America has this shift in their policy towards Syria, and also at the same time in the process of lifting sanctions?
So I think with him by himself, maybe not necessarily, but he does have the backing of people of enough so far to make a bit of a change. I think Saudi's influence and Turkey's influence in this matter of sanctions was heavy as well. And I think if he plays his cards right, I think hopefully, inshallah, it could reach a point where even Palestine could be hopefully liberated. The thing is, everyone, every single Muslim across the world knows that Palestine is probably the highest priority on our list right now. As Muslims, it's our duty towards the Ummah. And we know it's very, very difficult to just one country get up and go over and sort it out. And people seem to have expected after the liberation occurring in just 11 days that should have been enough for him to just continue and pushing towards Israel. And to be honest, I was one of those people as well. I myself initially felt like, why did it not just continue and liberate Palestine too? But after I traveled throughout the rest of Syria and I started understanding more of the reality going on over there too, because my worldview as well was only restricted for 10 years to the Idlib area. Now that I've seen the other areas, I've seen what they've been going through, way worse than what people in Idlib have been going through in terms of, monetary things, in terms of religion, in terms of even just the total lack of regard for human resources. All those things do have to be dealt with as well. You can't just ignore a nation and continue on. No one will take you seriously. Ahmed al-Shara may have made his mark in Idlib over the past 10 years that he's been ruling Idlib, because he's been ruling since 2015, over a year. So he has the support of the Idlib people mostly. But moving throughout the rest of Syria, yes, you'll have the general support of the public people who wanted Bashar Assad gone. But to keep that support, you have to give people back something as well. You have to return their rights to them, which have been withheld for so many years. That's just the general scheme of things. Then you have the fact that in the West, you have Syria being, still there's a lot of chaos going on with the ex-Assadists who tried and actually succeeded in taking over 3 villages about a month ago, and they still like popping up here and there. There's still almost every day news reports coming out saying that they've killed 2 mujahideen, or they've attacked in certain places. So that's still going on. You have the Kurds in the east who still retain a part of Syria, where negotiations have been going on since the liberation to try to get them to hand over those sections too. And alhamdulillah, some places have been released to the new regime, but there is still certain places which are under the Kurds. Then you have in the south the Druze, who had been Israeli backed to the extent where the Israelis were actually extracting wounded Druze and taking them to Israel for treatment. They found Israeli weapons when they took over certain points of the Druze. So this is internal conflict already, so much of it, and it doesn't make sense to just jump into something else unless you have enough backing to finish it off properly. So I do believe, inshallah, it will get there. I just think it needs a little bit of time, and inshallah, we make dua that, obviously with Allah's help, Allah strengthens the army of the people who are true to Him and allows them to liberate Al-Aqsa.
Inshallah, Jazakallah khairan so much for that and for taking time out with us this morning, Sister Maseeha. I know there's just so much more we could actually engage on, but unfortunately, time has actually run out. But I'm sure we will be touching base from time to time, and obviously, we will be watching the developments in Syria. And I know from time to time you do keep us updated. So, inshallah, we're looking forward to that. But for now, have yourself a wonderful Jummah as well, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah khairan. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Maseeha Saloojee, South African educator and humanitarian living in Syria.